So at this point, you should have watched all 6 videos at least one time for Chapter 5-3. And so now you have the opportunity to apply Excel to production costs and revenues and to create, we have about 3 of these to do, these production cost and revenue schedules. So I'm going to quickly go through and just give you a summary of those calculations that you learned through all 6 of those videos. And so I'll do a couple of the rows for each of these columns. So first up is marginal product. And this calculation here at this location is not required because there is no product to calculate. So we'll skip on down to what's the location? C6 there, and do this for 1 worker. And so the calculation is always start a formula in Excel with an equal sign. Click on the total product for that first worker minus the previous total product, which in this case happened to be 0, and so now we have 7. And so you will do this in a similar fashion for each worker. Worker number 2, 20 units minus the previous total production gives us the difference of 13. So the marginal product is the difference between the total product of worker 2 and the total product of worker 1. 20 minus 7, there's where your 13 is, and there's that formula again. So you want to do that for all of these 12 workers. Next, total fixed cost. For that, you need to take a look at our notes and find out what our fixed costs are for this problem. Fixed costs are $50. So you want to fill in 50 for each of these columns, or for each of these rows here, for each worker. And don't forget that even though we have no workers, we have no product, we still have a fixed cost, which follows from the fixed cost video previously viewed. Next up, variable cost. Once again, we'll have to look at our notes, and you will recall that the only variable cost we are going to deal with for these applications is the price of labor, or for each worker. And so there's that information right down here. Each worker is costing $90. So what you have to keep in mind here is that this is for total variable cost. So no workers, zero variable cost. Hire 1 worker, that's going to be $90. Hire a second worker, it's going to be $90 plus the previous worker, because we're looking at total variable cost. So you couldn't just put 90 here. That worker, that's true, but that's not what we're asking. We're asking for total variable cost, not just the variable cost of that worker. So total is this worker, worker 2 is $90 plus the previous variable cost. And so we get 180. And the next one, I'll go ahead and do one more, is going to be 90 plus the previous total variable cost. And so we're increasing by $90 each time. Total costs, equal sign, total fixed costs plus total variable costs. There's our $50. Do it a couple more times. Total fixed costs plus total variable costs equals our total costs. And one last time. Total fixed plus total variable. And so you can go ahead and complete all of those rows. Up next, marginal cost. Now, because there is no marginal product, we are not going to calculate a marginal cost. Start with that equal sign. Marginal cost is the increase in variable cost, not the total variable cost, but the increase. And the increase for this application, for this problem, is always going to be $90 divided by the marginal product. In this case, the 7. I'll double click on that again if you want to take a look at that. 90 divided by 7. Increase in variable cost divided by marginal product. Let's do it again. Now, some of you will be tempted to click here. Don't do that. That's total variable cost. We want the increase in variable cost. So, equals, it's going to be that $90 again, divided by Marginal product for worker 2 is 13, $6.92. And so go ahead and do that for all of those rows. Total revenue. Well, to calculate total revenue, we need to find out what we're selling. So we need to find that marginal revenue, and you recall, and I put it in parentheses here for you from that video, price per product. So we need to look at our notes and find out what our price per product is. Each unit of product has a price of $15. So we're going to put that 15 in here, and so you go ahead and put that in for each row. Now we can calculate total revenue. You will recall, total revenue is the price times the quantity. The equal sign. Our marginal revenue for each product we sell times the number of those products. In the first example, our first worker, no workers, 0. So we have no revenue. Now we hire a worker and start making some production. 15 times total product 7. One more. Let's see, we'll do 2 more. Equal sign. Marginal revenue times 20. And marginal revenue, or our price, times 38 in this example here. And one last column to do. Calculate profit. Profit will be calculated by total revenue minus total costs. Total revenue minus total costs, negative $50. Losing money at this point. Equal sign. Total revenue minus total cost, minus 35. Still losing money. Let's do another one. Let's get into some black ink. Equal sign. Total revenue minus total costs. There we go. Making $70. And the last thing. It's important to note this location right here between 7 and 20 units, because at some point you may be asked about the break-even point, where it would be, at what units of production or between which workers do we start actually making money. So the break-even point is that point where we don't lose money, we don't make money, the calculation would be equal to 0. So it's break-even. And so the break-even point is somewhere between here and here, which means it's between here and here. So somewhere between 7 and 20 units of production, we reach a break-even point. We don't know exactly what it is, but it looks like we could estimate it. Looks like that break-even point would be at just about 12, 13 units of production. So that question might come up. Let me rephrase that. That question will come up on the test. It will come up. And so you need to be aware of that. At what point is your total revenue minus your total cost going to equal 0 so that we reach that break-even point? So we want to be aware of that. And I think that's about it. Go ahead and finish all those rows, and then we'll have 2 more of these worksheets to do with some different numbers so you can practice those calculations. And that'll pretty much, once we do that, we'll do some practice test questions and wrap up Chapter 5-3 and move on to Chapter 6.